Hello there. So today we're going to talk about a very interesting topic, which is abstract art for the subject of history and art appreciation 2022. My name is Andrea Flores, and let's start. So first, what is it? Well, the word itself, abstract, it means to separate or withdraw something from something else. Abstract art is art that does not attempt to represent an accurate depiction of visual reality, but instead it uses shapes, colors, forms, and gestural marks to achieve its effect. The term can be applied to art that is based on an object, figure, or landscape, where forms have been simplified or schematized. It is also applied to art that uses forms such as geometric shape, gestural marks, which have no source at all in external visual reality. Some artists of this pure abstraction have preferred to insert the terms such as concrete art or non-objective art, but in practice, the word abstract is used across the board, and the distinction between the two is not always obvious. This kind of art is often seen as carrying a moral dimension in that it can be seen to stand for virtues such as order, purity, simplicity, and the last one, and I see that it is a very distinguished point of this kind of art, which is spirituality. But let's take a look, a brief review over its history. So it was originated in Europe in the late 19th century. But the thing is that before long years ago, there were men caves who used to paint. And for the shapes they use it could be considered as kind of abstract art because it wasn't a literal representation itself. But back in those days, there wasn't much where to put a name on it. But now that in the 19 Europe, if you made a movement and you have and you say like everyone is doing this, it is part of this movement. But back in those days, they didn't have this register. So the main point, the abstract art fully emerged in the early 20th century when a decline in the appreciation of realism became more common among avant-garde artists of the period. As with all artistic practices, there too have been other underlying issues influencing the work of art of this category, the majority of which are political and more special cultural causes. The direct result of the First and Second World War at disparate Europe meant that many of Europe's leading artists had to flee their homes for America's safe haven. Artists such as Arshad Gorky and Marcel Duchamp are a few who created works which marked and signified the reactions to the shifts in their situations. This is very special because they were focused on the reaction and not in the feeling itself, because in the abstract they are more focused on the feeling when you were making it or what you see in those paintings. And while the artists such as Duchamp, they were looking to create an uncomfortable place to take you out of the comfort zone with their artworks. So let's talk about the pioneer. His name, well known, Vasily Kandinsky. However, he was more concerned with the spiritual qualities present in art and to convey this within his artworks. Coming from a background in music, he stated that, like music, visual art could also harbor emotion. And elements such as form, color were capable of doing so. And we are tend just to hear music, but sometimes we don't get to connect it with forms, shapes, or colors. And the fact that he wanted to make something more spiritual from this, it was something quite new in a way. So his first abstract was created in 1911. So let's take a look at in this picture for a minute, just for a few seconds. And this is an important question when we look at art. What emotion do you feel when you think of a color? Well, the Cossacks, which is the name of the painting. This is the title of Russian cavalryman, which you can just recognize from their orange hats at the top of the and right of the painting, as it is, as you can observe. However, Kandinsky believed paintings did not need to be represented to represent the real world. He felt that emotions could be expressed through the way colors and lines were arranged in a painting. He linked musical tones to particular colors and considered color to have a powerful spiritual impact. So now, can you hear music when you look in the painting? He said, the first colors which made a strong impression on me were light juice green, white, crimson red, black, and yellow ochre. These memories go back to the third year of my life. So as you can see, the hat is represented with a little bit of coffee and red. We have a little rainbow over there, which are a very specific or very popular thing. When children draw, they tend to do these bright colors. And we also can see kind of buildings, which take him back to the old days of his life. But now there's a shocking fact. Well, history is always to be unfair for women, maybe, or unfair generally. But we have this with a woman that started 5 years ago before Kandinsky. She was named as Hilma af Klint. And the thing is that her artwork was known until she died because she wanted to her artwork to be known 20 years after her death. So she dies in kind of the 40s and her art is going to be known until the 60s. So it is very impressive, the background that she had and all of her context, how it's coming up in her paintings. So her first painting, as I told you, it was in 1906 and is Primordial Chaos number 7. Well, this artwork called Altarpiece number 1, I think is an amazing piece of art because it was long ahead of time, because we're talking that it was in the first years of the century and she was talking about spirituality, brightness and elevation and all this stuff. So it is quite interesting. So the pyramid is an equilateral triangle divided into two rainbow building block sections with a run of oval disc, adding more stability as a spine down the center. The sun rises above, and all of the saturated, highly colored shapes are set against a black background. Each one of this wide spectrum of colors has symbolic meaning within theosophical and anthroposophical spiritualist theory. Furthermore, The triangle is an ancient symbol which points towards enlightenment, connecting the material and the spiritual worlds. So as I told you, she was using spiritism, which now for us could be something funny, but back in those days was very popular. So she had a lot of influence from this, and it was quite interesting. Her work, a lot of contrast, a lot of color. But finally, what it is relevant for me about this kind of art, well, before investigating that much in this topic, I thought it was just some bunch of lines in color over there. But once I was investigating, I thought it was amazing. I think more than amazing. I had I haven't ever thought about art in which, like, how do you feel when you see just the color, when you just see such a shape. So it got out of the box back in its time. It was getting out of this conservative arts of work, and I think that is something we have to look further, not just in painting but in dance, in music, and among other several things. But I think this is quite movement that we can find um, a lot of background, not just paint itself from reality.